What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this is extremely late, but this is going to be my September wrap up. The reason that this was so late is because I was actually trying to finish some books within some of the reading vlogs that I was doing, and I just had so much going on with like doing a respite care, and we bought a house recently and we're selling our house, and so there's been a lot of different updates and stuff happening, and so I just didn't get the stuff up exactly when I wanted to. And so yeah, this is literally the middle of October. It's October 15th and I am filming my September wrap up. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put the graphic right here for you guys so that way you can see all of the books that I read. We're gonna talk about some stats. So in the month of September, I actually read 10 books. 4 of those were thrillers. 1 of them was horror, 2 of them were dystopian, and 3 of them were romance. Out of all of those books, 8 of them were adult and 2 of them were young adult, which is very rare for me. I read 3,144 pages, and a lot of you guys had told me exactly what you wanted to hear with some of my stats from my last wrap up, and so I went ahead and included some extra stats. So 2 of these books were from the library, as in I got the physical copy from the library, and then 2 of these books I had actually swapped. So maybe I was unhauling one of my other books and I swapped for 2 copies, and then 6 of these books were actually gifted to me either from last Christmas or from my birthday in May. So thank you guys for those of you that gifted me with books. I read 5 new releases, as in they were published here in 2020, and then 5 of these books were backlist titles. So I have some from 2019, 2015, 2017, 2016. So they're just kind of all different years. They're just not from 2020. 7 of these authors I have read from before, and 3 of these authors are new to me. Of all of these books, I actually listened to 7 of them on audio. Sometimes it was a physical copy and I was listening to the audio. Sometimes it was totally audio, but then 3 of them I physically read. The places that I got the audiobooks from, I got one of them from Scribd, which was The Night Swim. I listened to 4 of them from Libby, so that was Allegedly, My Dark Vanessa, The Marriage Lie, and Masterclass, so that was all through my library app Libby. And then 2 of them I listened to from audiobooks.com, and that was Misconduct and The Familiar Dark. And I actually have like some discount codes, so you can check the description down below and you can get, I think it's 60 days free for Scribd, and then I forget exactly what the promotion is for audiobooks.com, but definitely check those out if you needed more options. I also just became an influencer for Libro FM, which is an audiobook service that specifically supports bookstores. And so I just became one just this past month, like in September. I have not been able to listen to any books on there yet, but I do have a discount code for that, and it's great because you really are supporting local bookstores. You can either choose a bookstore that you want to support, or they can choose for you, and a really big portion of the proceeds actually goes to that bookstore. The monthly membership for that is $14.99 and you get 1 credit, so it's pretty similar to Audible, except that Audible does not support local bookstores. It's just a big huge Amazon distribution center, so you don't want to support them, you much rather support Libro. If however you are coming from Audible and you want to make the switch to Libro, they do have a switch program, so that way you can actually get 2 audiobooks for switching over. So if you guys are interested, I'll have my link down below for that, and you get 1 free audiobook if you use that link. Now we're on to the ratings. I rated 2 books 5 stars, 3 books 4.5 stars, 1 book a 3.5 star, 3 books 3 stars, and 1 book 2 stars. Okay, I think that's all of the stats that I wanted to include. Let me know if you guys liked that breakdown, if that was helpful to know like where I listen to audiobooks on, or you know, did I get these books from the library or whatever. The first book I'm gonna talk about is The Familiar Dark, and this is by Amy Engel, and I gave this book 3 stars. This is actually a book that I read for I Read Your Favorites, and so I will link that video up here if you guys wanna go check that out. And this was okay. It was a crime thriller about like, I think a dead daughter and the mother is trying to find answers. It was very similar to 2 other books that I have read in the last couple of years, and so I just didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to, but you can hear more of my thoughts in that vlog if you have not watched that yet. Then the next book that I read, I actually listened to this one completely on audio, and this is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is the first book that I have read by her, and I am now a big fan. I cannot wait to read her new book, Grown, which just came out I think this year, maybe last month. This was actually a young adult thriller, which normally I don't like young adult books, and I definitely don't like young adult thrillers, but this one was really great. This was actually published in 2017, so you guys can totally find it at your library. I listened to mine on Libby, which was my library app, and I gave this 4.5 stars. This book is actually about a Black girl who allegedly murders a infant baby of a white woman, and she ends up going to baby jail and is there, like, she was only 9 when this happened, and so she's already in her teenage years once we're kind of like hearing her story. And we kind of hear about how like her mom was supposed to be helping her watch this baby. I mean, obviously she's 9, so she shouldn't be watching a baby by herself, but how her mom kind of threw her under the bus, so that way her mom didn't have to go to jail. But we also hear about how she's now pregnant, and so this teenage girl who's been in baby jail for all of these years is pregnant, and the state wants to take the baby away from her. And so this was a very good book. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. Tiffany D. Jackson is such a great author. I loved her writing style, and even this audiobook, I was totally enthralled. I listened to it on my way to work and I really loved it. It was very enthralling and it kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. Next up, I read Mallory by Josh Malerman. This is Bird Box number 2 and I loved it. I gave this book 5 stars. It was everything that I wanted and remembered within Bird Box. I loved the being blindfolded feeling. If you want to hear more of my thoughts about it, I have that video linked down below. It's the I read your favorites of the year. Again, mentioned in that video is The Night Swim. I gave this 4.5 stars, and this one was also really good. This is a thriller book talking about rape culture and just kind of like the injustices of it all, and so there was a lot of stuff that I learned. It was very intriguing, but it's also super triggering, so make sure that you like check all the trigger warnings for that. Like I said, if you haven't seen that video, you should really check it out because 2 of the 3 books that I read were actually some of my favorites. Then I read a graphic novel. I read The Handmaid's Tale, and this I actually really liked. I gave it 5 stars, and I tried to read the actual like physical print copy of this a couple years ago, and I just could not get into it, and the writing style was awful. So if you also had tried to do that and you just couldn't get into it, I highly suggest you trying to pick up the graphic novel because it is way better, and I loved the story. It pretty much follows season 1 of the show, so if you've watched season 1 of the show, it's kind of very similar, but loved it, gave it 5 stars. Next up, I read The Marriage Lie by Kimberly Bell, and this one I gave 3.5 stars, but mostly just because of the ending. The initial story is about this husband who supposedly dies on an airplane, but he was like on this airplane that was going in the different direction than he told his wife that he was going into, and he was going to this convention that doesn't exist. So his wife is like, what were you even doing? So if you like those like normal domestic thrillers, this one actually is pretty good. The ending is definitely though like what gave it that kind of like oomph. Otherwise, if it didn't have that ending, it probably would have only been like a 2.5 to 3 stars. If you want to hear more of my thoughts though, I actually did a reading vlog. It was a wine weekend reading vlog where I met some of my booktube friends, including Gwen from Gwendolyn Kessinger, and I read The Marriage Lie and The Handmaid's Tale and the next book, which is Masterclass, and this is a dystopian novel, which was also only 3 stars. I've read another novel by this author. I read Vox, which also was 3 stars. I don't know, like this author, like she does really well in the first half of her books where she has this really cool dystopian world. In Masterclass, it was about all of these people having an IQ that like you had to have a certain IQ number in order to kind of like get a good house and to shop in a certain pickup line at the grocery store and to get a certain amount of education and stuff. And so if you weren't very smart, you didn't get all of those things, and so that was very intriguing. But it's always her last half of the books where they become like really political or just like kind of all over the place, and so yeah, that one was only a 3 star for me. Okay, the next 2 books that I read are actually from my Forbidden Romance vlog that I just did, and so we have My Dark Vanessa and we have Misconduct, and both of these I talk about in that romance vlog, so I will link that up here. These are both forbidden romances. My Dark Vanessa is definitely a lot more triggering. It's more of a like forbidden romance that actually legitimately is forbidden and frowned upon, and it's about this very old teacher who is kind of manipulating this young student into having a relationship, and it really shows how that really messed her up just mentally her whole entire life. And I don't know, it was like kind of hard to read about in places, but also I was like reading it kind of physically and also listening to the audiobook, and writing really reminds me of Stephen King, and I'm just not a fan of that, where it's like really dense, boring writing. Like the story was good, but the writing was like, ugh. So My Dark Vanessa, I only rated 3 stars. And then for Misconduct, this is just a normal Penelope Douglas, smutty, sexy, kind of like 50 Shades of Grey story. Now this is about a like teacher and parent relationship, and so I don't know, I just don't think I really like teacher student or teacher parent relationships, and I really don't like smutty books, and so this one I only gave 2 stars. And if you guys want to see more of my thoughts, definitely check out that video. Last but not least, but I read Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. This is a graphic novel. It's like pretty much YA, kind of romance, but it's super into the fall theme. So I have talked about this in my fall reading recommendations video, and it's great for the fall because it's about these characters who work at this like cornfield pumpkin patch fair type of thing, and they're kind of like going all over the place that whole entire night, just like having fun and doing shenanigans and stuff. And so it was actually really cute. I really love the fat rep and POC rep, and it is very, very great. And this is definitely a graphic novel that I'm going to keep around hand for any foster kids that I have, because it's just so cute, and even just looking at the pictures, it's adorable. All right, you guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Definitely let me know down below what your favorite books were of September. I know that's like so far away that you probably don't even remember what you read in September, but I definitely still want to hear what you liked that you read in September, and let me know if you agree with any of these ratings that I had or not agree. But that's it. I will see you guys very soon in another video. Bye everyone.